For the first time in history, a warship destroyed its enemy with light. No missile, no explosion, no warning. Just a beam traveling at the speed of light, and the target was gone before it could react. This is HELIOS. It is already deployed on United States Navy warships. And it is about to change the way wars are fought at sea. In the Red Sea, the United States Navy had a problem nobody wanted to admit out loud. Iran-backed Houthi fighters had figured something out. A cheap drone costing $2,000 could force a Navy destroyer to fire a missile costing $2 million to stop it. Do that enough times, and the most powerful Navy in the world starts running out of ammunition. Between late 2023 and early 2025, United States warships fired hundreds of expensive interceptor missiles, defending against relentless drone and missile attacks. The Standard Missile. Two costs approximately $2.3 million per shot. Every time a $2,000 drone forced one of those missiles off the rail, the exchange rate was catastrophic. The Houthis were not just trying to sink ships. They were trying to empty the magazine. And it was working. The Navy needed a weapon that never runs out of ammunition, does not care how many drones are coming, and costs almost nothing to fire. In 2024, that weapon finally proved it worked. HELIOS stands for High Energy Laser with Integrated Optical Dazzler and Surveillance. It was built by Lockheed Martin under a $150 million contract awarded by the United States Navy in 2018. At its core, it is a 60 kilowatt laser, powerful enough to simultaneously run 60 average homes, focused into a single beam and directed at a target with extraordinary precision. When the beam hits a drone, one of two things happens. At lower power, HELIOS blinds the drone's sensors, cutting its guidance signal and sending it spiraling into the water. The drone is not destroyed. It is simply made useless. At full power, the beam heats the target's structure directly. The airframe weakens, electronics fail. The drone stops flying. No explosion. No debris raining onto the ship's deck. The target simply falls out of the sky. And the cost to fire that beam is essentially the price of the electricity used to generate it. Fractions of a dollar per shot, compared to millions of dollars for a single missile. That is not just an improvement, it is a revolution. The USS Preble is an R-League Burke-class guided missile destroyer home-ported in San Diego. In 2022, something new appeared on its deck, a system that no warship in history had ever carried before. USS Preble became the first warship in the United States Navy to carry HELIOS as an operational weapon. In 2024, the crew fired HELIOS at a drone target during a live test supervised by the Pentagon. The drone was destroyed. The Department of Defense released one photograph afterward. A white streak of light extended from the destroyer's deck into the open sky. Clean, silent, precise. By early 2026, Lockheed Martin confirmed that USS Preble had destroyed 4 separate drones in a single demonstration at sea. 4 targets, 4 kills. The weapon never paused to reload, because there was nothing to reload. For 10 years, Navy commanders had publicly asked when a laser weapon would actually be ready for the fleet. USS Preble had the answer. Getting a 60 kilowatt laser onto a working warship was not straightforward. The engineers faced three problems that had defeated every previous laser program before them. The first was heat. A laser of this power generates enormous heat inside the system itself. Left unmanaged, that heat destroys the weapon's own components from the inside. Lockheed Martin solved this with a closed-loop cooling system that runs continuously, keeping the laser stable no matter how long it fires. The second problem was power. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer was not designed with spare electrical capacity. Its radar system alone draws heavily on the ship's generators. Adding HELIOS meant carefully balancing the ship's entire electrical load to make sure the laser had enough power without shutting down other critical systems. The third problem was the atmosphere. Fog, salt spray, humidity, and dust all scatter a laser beam at sea, reducing its range and effectiveness. The HELIOS system uses beam control software that monitors atmospheric conditions in real time and continuously adjusts to compensate. Each of these problems had quietly killed laser weapon programs before they ever left the laboratory. HELIOS solved all three. HELIOS is integrated directly into the ship's Aegis combat system, the same system that manages the destroyer's radar, tracks every threat in range, and coordinates all weapons on board. When Aegis detects an incoming threat, HELIOS receives the targeting data automatically, locks on, and fires. The entire sequence from detection to beam on target takes only seconds. This integration also gives commanders a choice that missiles cannot provide. Destroy the threat completely, or simply blind it and let it fall harmlessly into the water. In a crowded shipping lane, where a destroyed drone might fall onto a civilian vessel, that distinction can be the difference between a contained incident and an international crisis. No missile in the Navy's inventory offers that choice. HELIOS does. The United States is not the only country racing toward this capability. The United Kingdom tested its own naval laser called Dragonfire in 2024, successfully engaging aerial targets during sea trials. China has been developing directed energy systems for years, and in 2024 images surfaced of a Chinese laser counter-drone system operating in Iran. Russia has active programs of its own, though the details remain largely classified. Laser-resistant drone coatings are already being developed to reduce the beam's effectiveness against hardened targets. Drone swarms, dozens or hundreds of small drones attacking simultaneously, represent HELIOS's most serious limitation, since the system can only engage one target at a time. The Navy knows this, which is why HELIOS is designed as the first layer of a combined defense, not a replacement for everything else. HELIOS handles the cheap, fast, numerous threats. The missiles handle everything else. Together, they create a defense that is both harder to saturate and far cheaper to sustain over a long campaign. The 60 kilowatt system on USS Preble is the starting point, not the destination. The Navy is actively testing systems in the 150 to 300 kilowatt range. At 300 kilowatts, a shipboard laser becomes capable of engaging not just drones, but incoming supersonic cruise missiles, the weapons that have defined the threat to surface ships for decades. A dedicated program called HELCAP is specifically designed to reach that capability. If it succeeds, a future destroyer will be able to intercept a supersonic cruise missile with a beam of light before the missile ever has the chance to make a final correction. Beyond ships, directed energy systems are being developed for the F-35 fighter jet and the B-52 bomber, giving aircraft a defensive weapon that never runs out of ammunition in flight. The United States has committed over $1 billion annually to directed energy development in recent years. That investment is now producing results on the decks of operational warships. The age of laser weapons is not approaching. For the United States Navy, it has already arrived. For most of military history, the side with more ammunition eventually won. Larger stockpiles, longer supply lines, the ability to keep shooting after the enemy had run dry. These were the foundations of victory. HELIOS changes that equation. A weapon that fires electricity instead of explosives can sustain itself as long as the ship's engines are running. The magazine is not a finite number of missiles in a hold below decks. It is the energy of the ocean itself, converted into focused, precise, and endless light. The single photograph released after the USS Preble test tells the story more clearly than any briefing could. A white streak of light rising from a warship into an open sky. No smoke, no fire, no explosion. Just light, moving at 186,000 miles per second, doing a job that once required a $2 million missile. The next time a drone rises from a hostile vessel anywhere in the world, the ship it is targeting may not reach for a missile. It may simply turn on the light.